All right, everybody, welcome in. It is Thursday, November 4th at 6 o'clock Pacific time, 9 o'clock Eastern. We're going live on YouTube from the Mutamedia stream as well as the Trickle Up because we are companion networks and we're trying to help each other out. Check them out on Sunday nights as well, guys. They run same time. A few other nights during the week they run. They're good people over there. Thank you, boys, for always letting us do this. He's one of the first people to get me into this. We have a really awesome guest in here tonight, guys. I'm really excited. I'll let him introduce himself here in a second. We have a lot of conversations about the unhoused situation in America. We know some of the numbers about that. Behind that, we'll probably discuss that. A lot of people want to do something, but they don't know where to start. And here we have someone who's really trying to actually make his own mark in that scene and do something, right? Actually put some action down, and that's really awesome. So before we dive into that, I just want to point out the ticker below, guys. There's a little bit of information there. First of all, if you want to follow up on Jason here, you can check out sleeptrailer.com. Of course, we have more information in the description as always, guys. Further, we have the situation of the unhoused mother in Kansas who is still trying to get help, and we're going to keep trying to highlight that. You can check out her TikTok down there. You see the @ and follow up on the story. We'll also have a TikTok in the description that you can check out, and we have the Cash App down there if you want to send some capital her way and try and help. I believe she has a child, and they have a pet, and they could use help instantly. So they could use help yesterday, actually. So on that note, Shai, if I've missed anything, should we dive into letting Jason introduce himself?
Yep. Now let's hear from Jason.
Hi. First of all, thanks for having me. I appreciate you guys taking your time and reaching out and inviting me on. That means a lot. You know, it's always scary. I started this journey 5 years ago. And so it was just a sketch pad and piece of paper, and just kind of these ideas and trying to work through all these different things. When you share that with the world, it's a very nerve-wracking moment in your life, when you put that much work and effort into something and then you just go, here world, and people love it and people hate it, and the responses have been really awesome. And so it's been really cool and really rewarding to just kind of feel that love and that appreciation for all that time and energy that's been put into this. So I do appreciate you guys inviting me on your show today.
Appreciate you jumping in, man. 100%. Because like we said, we know Dr. Dutch kind of reached out to you, and you guys established that, and so he's good people. Wish he could be here. But let's dive back to that maybe. So you said you started this about 5 years ago, at least conceptually. What were you doing before that, and then what kind of made you want to shift gears towards this?
So I still work as my regular 40-hour work week is working as an associate director for a nonprofit organization here in Salem, Oregon, called Tandem Northwest. We work with people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And one of the many hats that I wear is that of a behavior specialist. So we go in and kind of see different challenging and behaviors that people are engaging in and try and figure out the why, what's causing that behavior, and trying to help them find a more appropriate way to get what they want. And so that's kind of my life, is a lot of problem solving. So that's kind of my background for that. And what started this was really, I was on my way to work one day, and I saw a gentleman sleeping under a business overhang. And at first, I'm going to be honest, I was really mad, and just like mad, like, how could we be okay with a fellow human being living like this? Like this is not okay. And I just felt so much rage at first of just like, why isn't somebody doing something about this? And then in that moment, there was just this punch to the gut that came and says, you're somebody, why don't you do something about this? And at first that kind of took me back, because I don't have a lot of connections to homelessness or the unhoused and the situations going on. And so at first I was like, why me? But that feeling just would not go away. What are you doing about it? What are you doing about it? What are you doing about it? Are you going to sit here and complain about it and be mad about it? Or are you going to do something about it? And so I just started to say, okay, and I started researching and kind of going through a bunch of different themes, shipping containers and tiny homes and pallet shelters and just everything that's out there, teardrop trailers. And one of the things that I came across, I actually have I don't know if you've ever seen it before. I don't know if it'll show up on there, but these they're called Japanese business hotels. You ever heard of Japanese business hotels?
I haven't.
So they're essentially this, but it's an actual hotel, and they have community like showers, bathrooms, and those kinds of things on site. But you can rent them a lot cheaper. It doesn't take up as much space, and so that was one of the big inspirations behind it. It was like, okay, if I can put that on a trailer, then the flexibility of being able to go to wherever it's needed and being able to change it, for example, some like if you're using it at a women's shelter that may need to change the location of, that could easily be transported and moved, and you could facilitate wherever the need was. And so those were the big inspirations. And then teardrop trailers, which again, I don't know if you can see that on the bottom there, but they're just simple little trailers that is just a place to sleep. And so thinking of behavior, one of the big problems that I saw was you said you're in Sacramento, right? So I don't know if you guys have like tent cities there.
Yeah, we
where
do.
It's just like
Yeah.
big groups of tents. So here in Salem, Oregon, and Oregon everywhere, they have these big, massive groupings of tents. And one of the problems is I saw so many homeless individuals would go into those areas and then they would get stuck and they can't get out, and so because if they leave, then all their stuff's going to get stolen, or they're trying to sleep, they're trying to just have a sleepful, restful night of sleep, and they're worried that somebody's going to come in and cause harm to them or steal their stuff, and so they don't sleep very well. And we all know how we get when we don't sleep very well, and so I saw that as a major foundation of how it could even be possible to get to break that endless cycle of homelessness. And so having a safe place to sleep, for me, I think is the biggest catalyst for allowing you to take on those next adventures and really take control back of your life. So for those,
100%. Oh, good. Go ahead, man.
I was just gonna say, so I'm actually in it right now. It's called the Sleep Trailer, and it's 8 individual pods. So this is one of those pods, and it's got a lockable door on the front here, and it's got a window that acts as a second egress, so you can get out in case of an emergency. It's got the airflow, so it's got 2 4-inch vents that have that passive air kind of coming in and out so that you're not, suffocating. And then the CO2 smoke detector, it's coated with a waterproof paint. The next iteration of Sleep Trailer, we hope to do a military grade spray. We're trying to work with an individual to do that so that it could be just easily power washed down. It's got a drain in the floor over here. So it's easy cleaning, easy disinfecting, especially during this COVID time. Able to clean the area out before somebody else would come in and use it. And so that's kind of the rundown. And I know I didn't hit half of the half of the things here, but that's all I can think of.
That's
and
okay. So
just going for it.
yeah, we'll kind of get into it. So, you mentioned, this is the next iteration. You want to change up some of the colors in military grade. What were some of the things beforehand? Or how many so how many versions have there been? How many some of the big changes you've made as you've gone through this?
This is the only one. This is the prototype. This is it. And it's just me, right? So I borrowed money, took out savings, took out personal loan just to create this. I told my wife, so it was a 5-year span. And then in the end of 2020, I finally found a manufacturer that said they were willing to take on the project and help me out. And they drew it up in CAD and make sure that it was all structurally sound and all those things. And there came this moment where I had to call my wife, and I just said, okay, here's our two options. Either we just don't do it, or either we go for it and just see where it takes us, or I'm that old grouchy man on my porch that's wondering what would have happened if I would have at least tried for the rest of my life. And I said, I really don't want to be that guy. And my wife is very supportive. She's awesome. And she just says, we got to do it. Let's go for it. Let's do it. And so here we are. Like I said, it's the first of its kind. Nothing like this has ever been done before. And so, yeah, we're trying to change the world here.
Yeah, if it's cool, I'm going to highlight what it looks like via the website.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
What the website looks like, just to kind of give people some context on, because like we can see from the inside. And I absolutely, as the producer of this, I love that you made the set inside one of them, because I pictured them a lot shorter, but you seem very comfortable. Yeah. Unless you're like,
you think like 4 feet, like 4 feet is actually quite a bit of space, and people are like, oh my gosh, I'm too claustrophobic. I can never do that. But like, think of like a bunk bed, like your kid's bunk bed is shorter than that. The average bunk bed's like less than 3 feet, or like a camper, like the bed above like the bed above the like driver's seat in a lot of RVs and stuff. How that's way shorter than this too, and so it's actually a lot more spacious than you think. My 2 kids love sleeping in this. So they beg to sleep in it like every night in the summer. We had to limit them to once a week, but I slept with me, my 5-year-old son, and my 3-year-old daughter, all in just one pod. So it was a little cozy with 3 of us, but when it was 2 of us, it was pretty good. But no, it's plenty spacious, and like, if I don't know if you can see me like laying down, but like I can touch the wall here, and it's 8 feet in length, so I'm not even touching the front side over here. So there'd be plenty of enough room to sleep and keep your belongings, if you had your clothes and different belongings that you were keeping with your person, so that you didn't have to worry about it being stolen or being taken from you. And then you could leave during the day and go and try and take that next step, because so many people, they get in that like survivor mindset, that like traumatic experience where people are like, some of the comments that I get online are pretty terrible, or people are just like, oh, just get a job, and then all your problems are solved. And it's like, one, a job doesn't pay enough to buy an apartment around here. You'd have to team up with somebody else to make enough money to get an apartment. And then, that's just the first thing is, you're not going to be a good employee if you don't get a good night's sleep, or if you aren't able to, have good hygiene or take care of yourself. Like, people are not going to want to employ you. So having a safe place to sleep at night is that first step that allows people to take that next step. So that has to be the first go-to thing is, people talk about housing first, and that's the truth, right? If somebody wants to get over, not being employed or even substance abuse and addictions, right? Like, having a stable place, again, is that first step that even makes it possible to take those next steps.
100%. I do want to highlight a question we have for you, because we kind of touched on this a little bit. So have you gotten a good response from the communities? And then they follow up with, I feel like my city won't be happy with any solution for the homeless except gone. And with the sad face, of course. So
Yes, the short answer is yes. So I've been getting lots of questions from all over the country, really, from different groups and organizations that do manage shelter sites. Nobody has signed on the dotted line yet and said, like, we're in, let's go, let's do it. I got a few people that are really, really close. And so, hopefully within these next few months, we'll have, some good news in that front. But it's a mixed reaction. I don't think sleep trailers should be the only answer, right? So how I foresee sleep trailer helping is being partnered with an existing shelter. So, there's an existing shelter here, but like in Salem, I was talking with a shelter and their wait list is 350 people long. So there's 350 people that want to use the shelter, but there's not enough space for them right now. And so with this, if they could park like 3 or 4 of these, then they could take, that many people off the waiting list and give them a safe place to sleep, and maybe they can stabilize and rehabilitate. And then from there, maybe we can, when a spot in the shelter opens up, maybe they can then transfer into the shelter. Or, maybe we can free up more space in the shelter for more of those individuals that have higher needs or higher disabilities and different things, so they can use those shelters. Sleep trailer is just a small piece of the puzzle. But I think it's an important piece. I think it's a big piece, and I think it can make the biggest impact to taking people from homelessness to out and being able to, have a house and have a home and be contributing in that way to society, and then maybe one day pay it forward and help some more people out of that same situation. And so I don't foresee sleep trailer being the only thing, right? I think it's best if used paired with other things.
Yeah, well, and I thought it was interesting because before we went live, you talked a little bit about sometimes you were getting pushback. I'm really glad that you didn't listen to that pushback, for the record. That people were like, "Oh, this isn't enough," and it's got that kind of response has the vibes of like you want to say to the person, "Don't let the perfect be the enemy to the good," because like this is an exceptionally good idea and like the perfect stepping stone. And there's a lot of what is the word I'm looking for? Downfalls to shelters, and they're a great concept, but like they're failing in a lot of areas. And some people have expressed that they don't cater to people who are unhoused with children on the spectrum, because there has to be rules where people have to be quiet. And obviously, if you're unhoused, you're out of your patterns. It can be extremely stressful for a young child. And I'm just, I referenced before how we had interviewed previously an unhoused single mom, and her child was on the spectrum, and she was like, I had to sleep in my car because we weren't welcome in shelters because of my child's special needs. And I just love that, like, you could accommodate her.
Yeah.
And like, so again, I'm sorry that someone gave you that pushback, and I'm really glad you didn't listen, because this is a really good idea.
Well, and the whole world has been through a lot this last year. And so I understand that people are oftentimes coming from a good intentions and a good place. And that, because truly the answer is more affordable housing, right? like that is the real answer to how we really help homelessness. And so this is a way to help people immediately, while that is that next step. And it's my dream to be able to do that next step one day and be able to build affordable housing. I would love that would be awesome. But yeah, the shelters, I mean, you're literally sleeping like 3 feet away from random Bob, on a cot. You're not going to feel safe. You're not going to feel you're going to be sleeping with one eye open, and that sucks, whereas something like this, you can get in, you can shut that door and you can lock it. And people can yell at you, people can scream and yell, but you're safe. Like, you are good, and you can rest assured knowing that that you're gonna be okay, and that you're gonna have that safe. You're gonna be able to sleep, and nothing's gonna happen to you. And just having that peace of mind, man, that can make a huge difference for people. You know, that can unlock so many other things, and get people out of that survivor mentality. And instead of thinking 24-hour increments, they're thinking days, weeks, months, and years into the future finally, instead of just like, where am I going to sleep and what am I going to eat today? You know, they can start planning for the future. But until you have that foundation to build up off of, you don't have anything.
That's a really underrated point right there. Just like the time frame that you're going to be thinking about and how that changes, like the way you can attack your day, like, and we know what the basic needs are in life, and like literally it starts with sleep. Like, it's massive important to sleep and take that stress away. We know how that impacts decision making and stuff. So like that was actually a really underrated point right there. Someone asked where this is based out of, and you said Salem, Oregon. And that's why I'm kind of interested to see if like we can find people in Sacramento, for example. That's where I'm from, like we were talking about beforehand, and we have a pretty serious problem here. And guys, you know the numbers. We know the numbers. Like, you have at any point in time up to about 700,000 people who are unhoused. I believe that's one unhoused person for every 59. Like, so we have like hella properties that also are uninhabited, right? I believe for every 59 properties that don't have someone in them, you have one unhoused individual. That's like a mind-blowing ratio.
Statistic, right? Just the disproportionate state of affairs that we live in right now. Yeah. No, absolutely.
And the next question I have for you, which is kind of interesting one, because we met through TikTok. Have you found that TikTok, like in the brief time you've been there, has like helped kind of like boost some of this, or like do you like imagine it can, or do you want to kind of expand on that?
Oh yeah, yep, no doubt. I've been on Facebook for a while. I've been on Instagram for a while, and it's hard, right? I mean, let's be honest, they're kind of dying. They're kind of dying in that regard. And TikTok, for better or worse, gets you a lot of eyes, you know, and you're just taking like 30 seconds of people's time, and they're deciding whether they want to engage or not. But so many more people have learned about it. Just helping people know that it's even an option out there is huge, right? Because people everywhere are looking for solutions. And so just by seeing this and knowing that it can start a conversation, right? To say, okay, well, can we do this? Why can't we do this? Or what could we do to modify it so that we could do it, you know? And how do we get that to work? So this prototype is how I designed it. Was 4 on the bottom, 4 units on the top, and but we could do any variety of things, right? Like, we could just do 4 units and make them taller, or we could do wider units, so you could have like a queen bed for like a family or something like that, if you wanted to build it that way instead. So there's a lot of flexibility. Or if there's like a place that's permanent, like it's never going to move, we could do it without a trailer, where we just kind of build the 8 spaces on a flatbed truck and then drop it off and put it on a foundation, and give people a place right there. And that can, so there's so many options. There's so much different flexibility with it. Bottom line is, I'm determined to be part of this solution. So like, it may take me a year, it may take me 5 years, but dang it, I'm going to be a part of this solution, and we're gonna change some lives. I keep living for this moment that I've visualized in my mind, 10 years down the road, where somebody comes up to me and says, "You changed my family's life," and like, man, that gets you up in the morning. That like you jump out of bed ready to go and ready to tackle. And haters can say what they want all day. Like, I'm not doing this for you, like I'm doing it for that kid that's 10 years down the road is gonna say that I changed family's life, or I brought a family member back to them that they had lost, that for so long because they were on the streets, and that's everything right there.
I want to circle back to your first point, kind of, because you talked about, like, I'll be honest, like, I was really angry when you're talking about seeing the man sleep under the overpass. And I think that's a really interesting kind of dichotomy there, right? You had this anger about a situation where you felt empathy for someone's experience and it drove you to action. Whereas you have people angry about a possible solution, if not a stepping stone towards something better, right? And they take that out on the internet in a comment section. And it's just like,
Yeah.
you know, so I think that anger is actually important because that can really drive people to actually want to step in and do something, right? It's like we can feel like this sense of hopelessness, this sadness, but until you really feel it, the anger can be powerful and channeled towards the right
Yeah.
direction. So I think that was something I kind of want to circle back on. Do you still have that anger, or is it kind of like now that you're doing something, you find it kind of?
It's silly, but I have a very different piece about me. Like my heart feels more peaceful, but my shoulders feel more heavy, you know? It's kind of this, like, although I know I'm doing it, you know, I'm going for it. Now there's this pressure, right? Because when it's on a sketchbook, it's a really cool idea and you can visualize all these great things. But then when you actually give it to the world, then suddenly they're going to either take it or rip it up or spit in your face or love it, you know, and you don't know until you do that. And so so no, I mean, I think oops, did my headphone die? I don't know. My sound's still good?
Yeah, you're still good, man. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, that hatred, that anger isn't what drives me anymore. It's like I said, that person 10 years down the road, that's who I'm moving for right now.
So basically, I'll let you go here quick, Shy. So basically, because you're talking about the question, like, what am I doing about it? What am I doing about it? You have peace because even if you don't succeed in what you're trying to do, you know you tried. You've actually done something. You brought something forward, and
yeah, failure does not scare me at all, right? Like regret terrifies me. Like sitting up at night regretting or wondering what would have happened had I done something, like, oh man, I that's not who I want to be. I'm a very positive, I'm a very happy person just in general. And so I want to be as far away from from that as humanly possible. And so like, yeah, I like I said, failure does not scare me one bit, you know, not trying, you know, and knowing that you could have changed or even saved somebody's life. Like, yeah, I'm going for that.
Yeah, your outlook, I love your outlook. It's inspiring. When you first started that sentence that said you were angry, I assumed you were going to talk about like maybe having like going through like a life journey and like pivoting from like being angry that someone was unhoused in your city to being like, oh, and now I have compassion for them. But you immediately had compassion, but for so many people, their default setting is to be like, I don't like this. This is a bad thing. You're making this thing.
I'm mad at that person for sleeping there.
Yeah, because like the unhoused have become like a scapegoat for and like they're what's the word? I don't know if weaponized is the right word, but they are in mayoral campaigns, at least in my city, mayors will leverage being like, we're going to have people exit homelessness because we don't like how it makes our city look, which I think is an atrocious thought process. And it's like, I hate to even think problematically like that, but I'm like, you know, mayors who are just about aesthetics would love this.
Yeah.
So
I think it's a solution that appeals to every side, you know, like I think it really tugs at the heartstrings of what everybody wants, you know, like do people want cleaner streets? Yeah. You know, do people want people to have housing and be able to, you know, get out of the situation that they're in? Yeah. You know, and so I think no matter what side of things you're on, like this is something that, you know, can really, really change things. Or at least let's start a conversation about it and see, like, let's try it. Like why not try, you know, like.
I mean, I think it's amazing, man, and I don't throw that word around lightly. I'm a hard person
well,
to
I
get praised
appreciate
from
that.
because I've been again in the 916 here in Sacramento. We have a pretty serious homeless issue, and it's been getting worse because like the housing prices are out of control here, right? And they're just
Yeah.
getting worse.
Yep.
And so like I've wondered what can I do, right? And like you know you can help at a shelter and do stuff like that, but like that feels like, and it's not like you're not doing anything, but that feels like, you know, what am I doing to actually solve this though? And like
Right.
you're bringing something to the table, man, and that's fucking awesome. Someone asked a good question, a couple questions from Angela here. Do you have a rough estimate on cost, and are they temperature controlled?
So, rough estimate on cost. My goal actually is to build them with like grants and donations, and then lease them to shelters at like a reduced cost. So, kind of my thought process is like $5,000 a year for that shelter. And that's so that you can make sure, one, that they stay safe, stay clean, they're in an area where they're going to be taken care of, and people are going to be checking in on them and making sure that their needs are met. And then also that helps the business side of things move so that you can continue to help people into the future. And so as far as like so this has cost me probably around $60,000. And some of that is like trial and error stuff, and so so that's just like kind of where my debt is at right now. So I don't have an actual price on like what it would cost. Retail price would probably be close to 50-60,000. What actually makes it more expensive than other things is having floor joists. That's a big cost change for having 2 floors. That drives up the cost a lot, because it does seem a little bit more expensive than you would think, but yeah, I mean, prices of materials in general are just kind of crazy through the roof right now. So I'll probably do both. I'll probably do, you know, some leasing and some selling of them, and then use the selling to build more to be able to lease them.
And then I believe I was checking the site, and I think actually might have been one of your TikTok videos, because someone asked about temp control. I don't think they're temp control, but you had an option for that, I think, right?
Yeah. Sorry, I forgot that second part of the question there. So one of the things I wanted to stay away from electricity, just because the liability goes up a lot when you add electricity into something like this, and you have 8 individuals sleeping in different, you know, compartments. And so what you can do is do like something like an external like AC or heating unit, and then take like the tubes, getting a splitter and then connecting them to one of the 4-inch vents, so that you could kind of take that edge off. And during this last summer, me and my kids slept in one of the compartments when it was 102 degrees that day, and it can get pretty hot. So so in those kinds of, if you live in an area where it cools down at night, you're going to be fine. But if it's above like 75 degrees at night, you're going to want something to help mitigate that. And then same with heat, like heating, you can do the same thing. Just having like the door shut and your own body temperature, and you're going to be in blankets and things, like it wouldn't really take much to make it a comfortable place to sleep. But that's also going to depend on where they're at, right? Because there's obviously a lot of places that are going to be a lot colder. So you would need to have something like that going to help mitigate that.
Perfect. Let me think here then. Any questions, guys, you guys want to kind of hit him with at this point? I know we were going to mention maybe talking to you afterwards, but someone brought up, since you did mention kind of like funding and some of the hopes, if I can find his comment. It was Run's comment. Yeah, perfect. And Run said, have you reached out to NGOs for funds? Maybe reach out to Kiwanis International. They give money sometimes if they like the idea.
Oh, so, really? Yeah. That's kind of one of the things about me, is like not super well connected. So
I didn't want to be the guy that just had a sketch paper and said, I want to do this, give me money. You know, I wanted to be somebody, when you have this, like, people know your commitment level is a little higher than just somebody with a piece of paper. And so so I honestly, I kind of kept it to myself for a long time until just like last month or so, when I really started sharing it with the world. And I mean, the world really happened with TikTok, because that those videos can kind of just blow up all of a sudden, and you can't keep up with the comments, and it's awesome and terrifying altogether. But no, I can look into that. That's helpful. Yeah. And anybody that has any tips on things like that, you know, I gladly welcome it, for sure.
That's something we can maybe try and do and follow up, try and like boost some of your videos, stuff like that, and just broaden the reach. Because again, like we were talking beforehand, it's kind of what we're trying to do with like our goals, to amplify people like you who really are kind of putting their money where their mouth is and really trying to impact things. So if anyone's got any other questions, any last things you want to hit on, Shai or Jason, before we kind of start to kind of get to that point, or anything we've missed?
One of our creators, No Use for Names, mentions veterans related. Yeah, looking into, because they are a large portion of the unhoused.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of different, you know, so here in Salem, I don't know how other cities do it, but like we have different managed shelter sites, and each sheltered site is like catered to a different group. So like one's specified more for like families, one's for seniors, one's for like a women's shelter, and so and you know, veterans would be another one that you could definitely help out. One of the mayors, the mayor in the city where I live in Albany, he's been really awesome, but he was in the Navy. So, you know, the Navy ships, like they're sleeping quarter, like super small. So when he saw that, he was just like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. That would be perfect, you know? And he was really pumped up and excited about it. And so, and I love that, you know, you kind of get these two different reactions when you talk about it. There's people that are like, oh, okay, you know, and then there's these people that like this light bulb goes on in their mind, and they see like, oh my goodness, this could change everything, you know? And so it's really cool to see the different responses that you get from that. But yeah, I would love to do something to help with veterans. That would be awesome.
Yeah, well, I'll connect you with No Use, because he might be able to be that connection you need to get some kind of grant that's directly related to.
Yeah.
And he's a veteran himself, so.
Yeah, that's awesome.
He's good people. We call him Captain America in our circle, so he's good people. Yeah, we'll definitely try and link you. Not try, we will link you guys up actually, because he's in the comments talking about that. But you just kind of said it, man. It is a really cool idea. I like the flexibility of it. Like you're talking about the idea, like the reality is it could work for families, it can work for individuals. You know, there's different things you can do. It can move. You can take it to different locations. So you clearly put a lot of thought into it. Like Run said, he's one of our people commenting. You have something tangible here, so clearly you're committed to it. And I think people see that if they're listening to you at all, like genuinely, I think they take away something pretty positive from this. So we have hit that point, and I think though, man, do you want to kind of leave anyone with a parting thought before I wrap it up?
Can I just want to say one thing in case there's anybody from like a city organization or something that would be watching this, is this could be a great like building block, right? Because a lot of the times one of the biggest problems that managed shelters find is buy-in from the community, because the community gets really scared that having a managed shelter is going to increase crime and is going to do all these things, which statistics show that that's not the case. However, you know, with something like this, you could present it to that community as like, hey, let's try it. And then if it doesn't work out, like, then it's easy to move and try somewhere else. And then maybe they try it with Sleep Trailer, and then they upgrade to a more permanent kind of situation to be able to. So I think even cities and organizations, it could really help out in that regard. And then, because I'm 100% convinced that we're going to help and we're going to end homelessness, chronic homelessness. Homelessness will always happen. There will always be that cycle, but people being stuck. And then we'll have all these shelters that can be used for disaster relief, or, you know, because in Oregon, and I know California, these forest fire, we had this big forest fire last year that just wiped out entire cities, and people didn't have anywhere to go, and it was awful. And so if we had something like this, you know, that could be the backup plan for that is like, okay, once we've helped and people are back out of it, then now we can use it it's here for disaster relief and for any other type of situation like that we may need. And so, like you said, I think it's very flexible. Again, anybody that's been watching, you know, thank you. I appreciate you guys taking your time. Like, it means a lot to me. You know, this is something that I've put my heart and soul into, you know, and a lot of tears, a lot of effort, and a lot of dreams into making this a reality for people and all over the country. So just thanks, and thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course, man. Definitely appreciate you taking the time to share your idea and kind of your passion with us. On that note, guys, you can follow up on TikTok, of course, since most of us are there. It's how most of us met, right? Sleep Trailer LLC. We'll have in the description of this video. You can check out his website. Of course, please don't forget there's the unhoused mom and her child in Kansas. The Cash App is right down there in the ticker. We also have accompanying videos in the description if you want to follow up on that situation. One of the last things I want to talk about is I thought about the strikers myself. There's different Kellogg strikes going on. Maybe this is something that they could utilize if we could find ways to kind of facilitate that or something. So there's, like, to your point, there's lots of ways to do this, like with the unhoused, with like emergency disaster situations, and people get creative. So we've hit that point tonight, though, guys. Appreciate everyone being here and supporting the stream as always. We'll be back tomorrow night for a hangout stream, as always, Monday through Friday. Make sure you tell your friends, your family, let people know across social media. And as always, remember to mute the media, guys.